did. For me, again, it's that whole turning a negative into a positive scenario. Like, this is a naff situation, but can we make it into something that we can sort of like universally draw from as as males in a world where it's not quite always okay to speak about your emotions, because you're with that fear of being worrying and being judged, etc. And that's kind of where I sort of try to go with it. Same concept for when I see you. I guess it's not always easy to talk about, but it's something that people are going to experience, a loved one dying in their lifetime, whether they like it or not, really.
Did you ever have a moment with either of those records or any others where you thought, is this too personal, or did you have any reservations? Or...
I had that with the Whole Boys Cry 2 EP, to be honest, because you had a song like everything. The first record on that was a co-write, so that was a bit more lighthearted. It was it wasn't as sort of personal to me as the rest of the other songs on the record, and I kind of did think, am I going a bit sort of like early age Coldplay on this and whinging too hard? But I just kind of thought, you know what, this is what I was feeling at the time, and it was three completely different concepts and three completely different ideas. Like even Pushing My Handstand, there's basically about my journey into country music and wondering whether I should do it or not, and sort of that worry as a musician of putting yourself into that arena to be judged, because that's what you do all the time anyway. We do that with every show that we play. That's essentially what you're doing. But I kind of thought, all right, well, as I say, that's how I was feeling at the time, and sort of just going with it and hoping that people went for it. And lucky enough, when the reviews started coming in off the back of it, I was like, okay, we've done something good here. This is sort of I've found my thing as an artist, because that's the other thing as well. That sort of it gave me that. I would say to other artists who feel like they're in that position, just be brave and do it.
Yeah.
Because it gave me my thing, as it were. Because I've never been one of those artists who have been like mad on like I've got to create a brand, I've got to create a business. Because I'm just I do see myself as a guy who writes songs, and all the rest of it comes with it, really.
Yeah. I heard it on the radio over the weekend. I don't know if you heard it. Matt Spracklin was talking, and someone asked for one of your songs because it's still, I think it was When I See You.
It was When I See You, yeah.
Still, because that was quite a prominent situation in someone's life where one of your songs was so important to them. That must be pretty special. Yeah,
man, that whole situation like brought me to tears. Genuinely, like from the fact that obviously it got someone through a death, and then obviously country hit sort of backing it and supporting it the way they did, and then literally just after that I got a message to say that they were basically going to play When I See You as the coffin was being carried down.
Oh wow.
At the church. So it's kind of that's kind of
heavy.
Yeah, it is, but at the same time, it's tough, and it's kind of it's a hard one to sort of try and conjure up in your head. But at the same time, again, as I said to you earlier, it's sort of that's why you do what you do, is to create music for I say relevant moments, and I guess there's nothing that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
It validates what you're doing to a bigger audience as well, beyond yourself as well, doesn't it? That you're achieving what you've set out to.
Yeah, 100%, which is it's a great feeling, and as I say, that's why, I first picked up a guitar when I was 15 years old and started writing songs in the first place, was to be able to portray that message to people in some way, shape or form, and that's sort of about as real as it gets.
So your previous single, Lonely, which was in November. Now, for me, production-wise, that wouldn't sound out of place on like a top 40 station in Nashville.
Thank you, man.
If people haven't heard it, I think that is a really great entry point for your music. But what strikes me about that, and I assume it's completely intentional, is you went with the classic tactic of really upbeat sort of instrumentation, but with quite a bleak, sort of ominous lyric there.
Yes.
Talk to us about that song.
Yeah, so I like to kind of explore that. I mean, you're being a producer, I guess it sort of gives you that perspective of you separate the music and the top line as two completely separate things, and when you can sort of like create contrast between the two, it's always it's always good fun in a way, because it's sort of the actual idea for the song came from a friend of mine. I'd been in the studio sort of laying down some ideas for that song that day. I had a friend come in. He'd been in this sort of like very sort of toxic relationship, but the conversation, it was kind of like, "Oh, you're not seeing her again, are you, mate?" You know, it wasn't. It was like, "You're not doing that again, surely not." It was like, "Oh, well," and you know, and it was a very sort of, wasn't a heavy conversation, even though the subject matter kind of was.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like going in with that theme, really. I guess it was sort of like a reflection of how that particular conversation had made me feel. So yeah, I guess that's where it stemmed from, and sort of separating the two. And as far as the production is concerned, I guess it was sort of, I think I'd just come back from Nashville for the second time, and that's kind of, I spend a lot of time in studios whilst I'm over there anyway, and sort of like engaging with how they mix and how they produce, and it is very different to over here. So I kind of wanted to sort of explore that feeling and that sound. I think I was listening to a lot of Morgan Wallen at the time. So it was sort of like trying to explore those ideas and those concepts that I'd learned over there, and sort of like bringing it into into a context over here.
Talk to me a bit about your co-writing then. If you've got any people you like to write with regularly, or do you see that as a good way of inroad into working with US writers? Or
yeah, I mean, for me, as far as working with US writers, it was definitely like the way that I think everything I've written over there has been a co-write, to be quite honest with you. So I've done stuff with Tyler Bank, whom I've written my latest single with. He's really, really cool. I love his style of writing. He's very much like in with that sort of current Nashville commercial sound. I saw him at a writer's night at Belcourt Taps. I think I just played my round and he was on the round after me, and I just listening to his stuff, I was like, that's exactly in the pocket I want to write with you. And I just walked up to him. I just walked up to him at the end of the show, and he was like, "Sorry, I'm booked out for like the next like 3 weeks, but just before I went home he called me and was like, I've just had a cancellation, do you want to come over?" And I was like, yes. Nice. Straight over there. So yeah, we wrote that one together, and hopefully we're going to write some more when all this madness is over and I get to go back. Then I guess for me, in terms of, I've written with a few British artists. Obviously, you know, Kelsey Bobby is one that she's doing really well at the moment. Obviously, we're on the management roster together, but I've worked with Kelsey for a long time. Wrote 2 songs on her first record, and she's got her new EP coming out, and I wrote 2 songs off that as well. So yeah, it's cool, man. Like I love the whole co-writing process. Like, I think it brings out a different perspective. Again, during this particular period of time, I've done a bunch as well. Written with Elliot Joseph, which was great, which is because obviously he's a lot more folky, so it sort of like brings a different part of my brain into work as well. The only thing I do find a lot of the time when I'm writing with British artists is I always end up writing for them rather than for me. And it would be nice to, I guess, in terms of the stuff that I've been writing as far as co-writes are concerned in the UK, have always been with just anything that's been for me has been just with writers.
Yeah.
So it'd be really interesting if I do ever get that dynamic where it really works, where I feel like I can work with an artist over here who sort of pitches something to me rather than me pitching to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that works.
So talk to me about you've got a new single coming out.
I do, yes.
Tell us all.
Okay, so my new single is called My Kind of City. I wrote it with Tyler Bank in Nashville in around sort of like September, October time. So it's when I just, to say, literally just approached him at the end of the show. We wrote this song together, and I think it was really cool because we sort of come from a very similar place musically. We're into the same people. So it was sort of like a Rascal Flatts, Dan and Shay, bits of Sam Hunt inspired kind of tune. Very sort of like modern Nashville in terms of the way that we've approached the production on it as well. And yeah, we want a lyrical concept that was like relatable to the both of us, really. And the reason we came up with My Kind of City, with like, we're both musicians, we both tour around play music across the world quite a lot. But at the end of the day, you can see all these great places and go to these, different exciting, events and whatever else. But fundamentally, you've still always got something or someone that you come home to that kind of makes you feel a certain way that those other places can't.
Nice.
So that's kind of this. It's kind of that sort of like feeling of coming home to something or someone special. That's kind of the idea of it. And yeah, as I say, it's sort of as another up tempo number, sort of similar to Lonely in that regard.
Brilliant. So you won the 2018 BCMA UK Male Country Artist of the Year. Had many nominations alongside that before. This year, you're nominated for some categories in the ISSA Awards.
Yeah, that was a bit mad,
which is
wasn't it?
the International Singer-Songwriter Association.
Yes, that's it.
So how do you feel about awards? I know some people sort of strive for them. Is it something you just ride along with, or?
Look, at any given level, it's really awesome to have your music looked at or recognized in a positive light. And I guess that's all you can ask for as an artist that's growing, as an artist that's developing. If any association, whether it's getting BCMA nominations or whether it's winning the UK Country Music Awards or getting the ISSA nominations, whatever that may be, it's for me. If someone is looking at your work and going, "That's good, that's worthwhile, we want to be associated with that," then that's great. As far as I'm concerned, I don't sort of look at it in any other way other than that. That's sort of where for me where it starts. And then because if you start getting into all the sort of like some people like to push it to the side, some people like to strive for it, some people like to get really political about it. Like none of that's really my jam at all. I just like to so if someone's turning around and saying, "We like what you're doing, thank you very much," I'm grateful.
Perfect. You've been really lucky with the BCMA. They've been really behind you since day one, haven't they?
Yeah. As I say, I think we've had, obviously they picked me up for obviously they run Buckle and Boots, and they picked me up from nothing essentially. I think they just sort of heard the first EP and liked the sound and liked the concept of kind of where I was going with something that was sort of relatively modern. And I guess it's sort of there weren't that many people kind of doing it at the time.
Yeah.
So they took a punt on me really, and I guess to me that's still potentially that show is one of if not one of the best, or if not the best that I've played. For loads of different reasons. That was kind of like my sort of, no one knew who the hell I was at that point, and they kind of gave me that platform, really, that show. Was it 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon at Buckle and Boots, and playing to a packed tent, and the sort of first experience of people singing my songs, really. So I've always been grateful for that.
So let's go on to you've played in the US quite a few times. Is there any gig over there that really stands out for you?
I think I've got two over there that really sort
of both.
Yeah, I've got. I mean, the first time I played at Belcourt Taps was amazing. Well, I did a writers' night there, where I met Tyler Bank that night, and I got to play with Kyle Elliott as well, who's a great artist, absolutely brilliant. It was just like I was last in the round, and I had these three people go before me. And I was like, oh my God, these guys are really like top quality. Like, I try never to sort of feel intimidated and just kind of go with my gut and do what I do, and not really into what other people do. But these guys were so good. And it just sort of, I was like, oh, I'm actually here. I'm actually doing it now. Like, my dream was always to go over and play sort of writers' rounds in the States, but it was kind of that realization of those three guys going before me, kind of realizing, yeah, okay, this is it. I've got to do it now. There's no hiding. But it was good. I did my thing. People digging it. It was good fun. So, and then the other one for me was when we were just played in as part of the Millennium Music Conference. We did 3 shows in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And the second show we did, we basically got called in last minute. And because the band had pulled out, and they were like, right, you got to be there in an hour. Just rock up, bring your gear, do whatever you want to do. And yeah, we arrived, and there was like 450 people in this venue.
No.
Huge venue. It was absolutely packed. It was pretty much sold out to the brinks. Yeah, and then we just cracked in doing what we do, and you know, people were loving it, partying along. There was a guy that had travelled from like miles away to come see us play because he'd heard my stuff on Spotify.
Wow.
Yeah, it was all of those kind of things, you know. And it's like at home when you crack out a Sam Hunt cover, no one really knows what's going on. But obviously we did that there, and it